Today is and is intended to be a very practical session, but we're going to give you a framework and we're going to challenge you to think about the way you run your business, your organisation, whatever role you may be in. So we always do these as a blending of, we need to provide, we believe, a framework so you can think about the issue which we're talking about, but at the same time, we want to challenge you and stretch you outside where your conventional thinking may be. So that's what today's about. This is, I suppose we'll say the headline of the series we're going to be running for the year. So we run a series of what we call growth seminars during the year, which goes from this first one, a great business, and then picks up each and single topic and will then expand upon those. And you'll see those coming out through the year. So the starting point is really to talk about why do we use this language of great? So today is about the type of business you're going to build, the aspirations for that business, where you want to take it to, and what you need to do to make that happen. So again, repeat the question, why great? Why do we use this language of we believe you need to build a great business? And this is the way we think about it. And I think there's a good and simple analogy. You can be good, you can be better, you can be best, or you can be great. So there's many businesses which they'll say, we have a good business, which means to us, yeah, it's okay. We're sort of comfortable with it. We're probably doing all right. You know, we meet needs within our community. We're making some dollars, and we're probably not going to take it any further than that. We're sort of satisfied with where it is. Then you go to those which are better. So they're not just a good business, they're actually trying to shift themselves. So we're doing better than that sort of that general mass. We're thinking about what we're doing, we're thinking about how we're running our business, and we're seeking to step it out a bit. So that's slightly different. Then you go on to the next category where you say we're best. So we are the best within our region, within our industry, whichever way you want to describe it. So you got good, you got better, you got best. It's another stretch. And people tend to stop there. And they say, but we're the best. Well, we think in actual fact there's a leap beyond that. And in terms of thinking about your business, you really need to take that leap beyond. And we'll explain why this morning. So the analogy I want to give you is think of someone who is an athlete. And it's an easy way to think about this. Good, better, best, great. So I'm in the Australian team, I'm competing, whatever my sport is, whatever my event is, and I'll then be considered to be one of the good ones. I'm in the Australian team and I'm competing and I've got a chance. I then get into some of the games and again I'm going and I'm beginning to show that I've actually got some talent, some style, some character. I'm actually achieving something. He's one of the better ones. Within our Australian team, he's one of the better ones. I then actually get into the Olympics and I compete and I win a medal. We'll say it's a silver medal. Then people will turn around and say he's one of our best. He's won a medal. If I get a gold, I even get elevated up higher. But then when you think about that and you say, but what about the athlete who goes in Olympic after Olympic after Olympic over a number of sort of 1, 2, 3, sort of those 4-year periods. And then you've got someone who's going in Commonwealth Games, World Games, and each time they go in, they are winning, and each time they go in, they are setting world records. And they just don't do it once or twice, but they do it over a period which could be 5, 8, 10, 12 years. And they begin to set the records which everyone else begins to chase. Then you'll turn around and say, they're one of our greatest because of what they have achieved. And I think that language is one which we can relate to and would understand. You can probably all think of someone who you think be one of our greats. Well, take that and then apply that across the business community. And you turn around and say, are there businesses which have year after year after year after year actually stood out from everyone else and have led the market and have redefined the market and have taken it to another level? And yes, there are. And we're going to talk about why some of them survive and why some of them don't survive. But we want you to get that premise, that starting premise of there are businesses which are just good, better, best, and there's those businesses which are great. And you'd turn around and you'd say, why? Why would you worry about being great? And we're going to unpack that as well. But I think in terms of just your performance, your returns, your capital value, there's a significant difference between good, better, best, and great. And we think you should be aiming for great. So that's why we talk about great businesses. So the first question you're really going to ask yourself is, what are you actually trying to achieve in your business? Where's your level of comfort? How high are you setting that? Do you actually just, I'm comfortable with what I've got and I don't want to take it any further? Or is there something beyond that? And that very much is personal. It's for the leadership team, it's for the owner, it's for the individuals, and it applies to wherever you are. So you may say, well, I'm not actually sitting on the board, I'm not a CEO, I don't have that control. You may be working in one area. The same thing applies to that. What is the standard you set within there? What are you actually trying to achieve? And often we don't define this particularly well. Often we have a sense, but we actually don't stretch. And often we don't stretch because we don't believe we can. But the reality is, most of us can if we focus on it and we do it. So today is a bit about unpacking that and seeing what in actual fact we need to do. And we're going to pose a whole range of questions for you as we go through. And the first question is quite simply that. What are you seeking to achieve? What's the actual standard you want to set in your business? Where do you want to take it to? Do you actually want to take it to where it can go to? And if so, do you actually understand what you need to focus on and what you need to do? And once you've got that, we all know it doesn't happen overnight, is that compounding effort. That athlete who's become great, what's it taken for them to get there? Day after day after day after day after day of repetitive conditioning and training with a passion and a focus and the right people around them to support them. So you then spin that into your business context and say, am I doing the right things day after day after day, building and compounding the engine, the strength, which is going to make my business great? Do I have the right support structure around me in all sorts of different ways? Or am I a bit lost as to where everything is going to? Am I controlling my market and setting the direction, or am I allowing myself to be controlled by everything which happens around me? And these are some of the elements which come. So there's 4 questions which I'll just like you to read and just to think about for a moment. And these 4 questions are, and I'll just unpack the first one. So what do you do in your business? Now, this is not referring to you as an individual, but in your business, what do you actually do? How would you describe that? How would you describe what you do in your business? And just pause for 5 seconds and just put in your mind, if I was asked what I did in my business, how would I describe that? File that away. Second question, what are you better at than anyone else? What do you do better than anyone else? Whichever way you want to say that. And there's a degree here. You'll have people who turn around and say, oh, I'm okay at this, and I'm sort of good at this, and I'm all right at this. No, the question is, what are you better at than anyone else? And if you can't think of something which you're better at than anyone else, then I think you've got to pause and you've got to say, but surely we need to find some space where we can be, where we're actually better than anyone else. Otherwise, we're just sort of surviving, existing while people let us be there. So second question, what is it you do better than anyone else? Think about it, crystallize it, file it away. Third question, why do your customers keep coming back to you? Why do your customers keep coming back to you? Do you actually understand why they keep coming back? To some extent you'd say, do you actually care why they keep coming back? But do you actually understand why they keep coming back? And the next question ties into that. So file that answer away, why you think they come back. Next one is, what value do you deliver? What value do you deliver? And it's not what you think you deliver, it's what the customers see as being the value you deliver. So what value do you deliver? So there's 4 questions. What do you actually do in your business? Come in, please, just grab a seat. What do you do in your business? What are you better at than anyone else? Why do your customers keep coming back? And what value do you deliver? These 4 questions are the essence of your organisation and the essence of its success. If you don't have firm, clear, strong answers to those, if you don't couch those answers in a way which actually represents value, then your ability to go from existence even to good, better, best is very limited. So I'll give you the context of, let's pretend we're accountants. Let's pretend we're tax people. We do tax returns. So what do you do in your business? Oh, I do people's tax returns. Okay. It's a functional statement, do people's tax returns. What are you better at than anyone else? Probably not much. We're accountants. We do people's tax returns. Can you actually be better? We try to save them money, but we just do tax returns. Third question, why do your customers keep coming back? Probably because we have the tax records and we know where their sins are, so they feel they've got to come back to us. What value do you deliver? Well, we try to do the tax returns well, and we try to do it for a reasonable price, but things are expensive these days. So you hear these sorts of bland, functional sorts of descriptions where there's no energy in it. Whereas if someone turned around and they say, so what do you do? Oh, we're accountants. We actually look after people's compliance, and we make sure that's not a trouble. We make sure there's no burden. We make sure they're on top of it. We make sure it doesn't cause them any worry or concern, so they can focus on growing their business, because that's quite critical. What do we do best? Oh, we keep them informed. There's never any surprises, always on time. We always keep them up to date. Ours is about a peace of mind for them, so it's contained. Why do they keep coming back? Trust, confidence. They know we do our job well. We always keep them informed. We're always ahead of everyone else. What value you deliver? The same expression, total peace of mind. They know exactly where these things are and they know we're minimising their exposure. That's a very different type of answer. And you can begin to unpack that and take it forward. So this second question, which is, so what do you actually do in your business and how you think about that, is a very important question. As you begin to think about going from good to great, it does not matter what you do, whether you are a for-profit, not-for-profit, for cause, however you may want to describe yourself, the answer to these 4 questions are quite critical. And what is more important is how your leadership team thinks about them and how your whole organisation thinks about them. Because you'll be guaranteed they won't think about them. They won't have the answers they need. So that's the second question, the second area I would like you to think about. What actually is your business about? And we would say the answers to these, in actual fact, express what we would call your competitive posture. It's how you actually compete in the marketplace and how you shift yourself forward. And if you don't have a real sense of this, it makes it very hard to step ahead and to leave everyone else behind. I think the next question becomes quite critical for you, and it ties back to that first one of a great business. What is success? What actually is success? Have you paused, have you thought about, and have you expressed what is success? Because we all have a very different view of what success is, and we all express it in very different ways. You need to crystallise and you need to understand what success is. You will see in terms of a great business, we have what we would call, not a definition, but a description of what in actual fact a great business is. Hope you can edit all that out. Could be a bit of a challenge. So what's success for you? So let me go through and give you some examples of some of the things which people would describe as success. Often this is the first one. Success is about the dollars. It's all about the money. It's about my return on investment. It's about how much I make. And my whole focus is to make more and to make more and to make more and to make more. But often as I make more and I make more and I make more, I actually weaken my organisation because my focus is in the wrong direction. It's chasing the dollar rather than building what actually generates the dollar. And there's a difference between businesses which people may describe as good, better, best, and those which are great. Those which are great know how to generate the engine which produces the dollars so they don't have to focus on them. It's in their DNA, it's there. Other people would turn around and say, it's all about winning. It's all about the competition. It's all about the sport. It's all about getting out there and competing against someone. If they do this, I'll do that. If they do this, we'll do that. It's about competing. Again, not necessarily the right focus, but success for us is competing. It's about defeating other people and getting ahead of them. Now, we acquired them. We acquired them. There was a CEO of a company once, and he turned around and said, we have battled for 30 years, our company, against them. We've now won. We're acquiring them. I said, is this a good thing? Yep, we're going to wipe them out. They're not going to exist. And turn around and say, that's probably not a good thing for your business, because I don't know if you're going to get much value from acquiring them and wiping them out, but it was just about the competition. Others would turn around and say, success is very much about innovation. Knowledge, strategy, creativity, success. I express myself in what I create in the marketplace. It's about innovation, it's about new product, it's about technology, it's about stepping forward. So it could be about the dollars, it could be about winning, it could be about innovation, technology, and how I'm seen in the marketplace by my peers. Welcome. And the last one, which I think people can sometimes use, is they turn around and say, success is about happy customers, happy employees. It's about the joy which people actually get from the work they do. Because if we have customers who are happy and who like us, if I have employees who are happy and like us, then other things will flow from that and the business will grow and develop. So there's a fundamental question here. And the fundamental question is, so what does success look like for you? What does success look like for you? Because quite honestly, if you don't have a sense of what success looks like for you, you're probably never going to get there because you're not going to know what you're reaching for. And unfortunately, in the business community, the general definition of success is I'm bigger. My sales have gone up. And often my sales have gone up, but my profit went down, but that's okay, I'm bigger. So this real definition of what success represents itself is important and getting that defined. Because growing a great business is not necessarily being the largest business, it's something else, isn't it? And it's probably a blending of all of those. It's about profitability, it's about winning, it's about innovation, it's about happy customers and happy employees. It's all of those washed together in an outcome which allows you to achieve greatness year after year after year after year after year. So what do you think happens to your capital value if you're recognised as being a great business who just steps ahead of its competitors? What do you think happens to your multiplier? It's going through the ceiling. Why do people look at technology businesses and put a much larger multiplier on them? Because they think there's opportunity there. Often there's not, but they think there's opportunity. The same thing happens in great businesses. Their brand is so well recognised, what they do is so well recognised, and no one can understand why they're able to do what they do, sort of like we can't understand how they keep doing this, that their multiplier, their capital value just begins to excel. That's one of the fundamental differences. So when you begin to talk about great businesses, these are the sorts of things you begin to say. A great business is one that does exceptional things day after day and whose owners, employees and customers thrive in the benefits. Exceptional things and thrive. Key words. Always out from everyone else, but that word thrive. It's just there is such a engagement in it. And in our viewpoint in today's market, it's only the exceptional, it's those great businesses that attract the attention, the rewards that make it all worthwhile. So you can break your back building a good business, you can break your back building a better business, you can break your back building a best business, and in actual fact, when you jump to a great business, you're not breaking your back anymore because you've put in the yards to actually take yourself to a level where it's generating and turning itself, and it just becomes so critical. So there's a good reason to move from good, better, best, and take that step forward to great, because I think when you're at great, it actually becomes so much easier because you've taken that step. So what actually does a great business look like? What are the elements which fit within it? And these are the types of things we would talk about. We would turn around and say, a great business is one which is highly profitable. What does that mean? Depends how big the business is, depends what industry is, but it's just considered to be highly profitable. The other part which goes with that is just throwing off cash. It's not having to reinvest every cent that it earns and is drained for cash and just doesn't have the money. It's reinvesting. Yes, but it's also throwing off the cash. It's got free cash flow. It has a growing and compounding capital value. So what my business is worth is not just getting larger, but it's building upon what went before. And as we all know, as you begin to compound, it begins to accelerate. Customers love it. Customers love it. Employees are passionate about it. Owners thrive in it. And it's that one which often you don't get. Customers can like it, employees can bear it, and owners hate it and can't wait until they retire and they get out. And we've got a business where the owners hate it and all they can think about is how long to my retirement and will someone buy this from me? Then you've got a business which is in decline. If you've got a business where I actually enjoy what I'm doing, I love what I'm doing, I'm passionate about what I'm doing. Yeah, I have days which I hate, and I just wish I wasn't here, but that's fine because that's all part of building what I'm building. And because I love it, my employees are engaged, and because I love it and they're engaged, my customers now are the same. And now I've got that model going. It finds continuing opportunities, growth and innovation. Why? Because it's engaged, because it's thinking, because it's going somewhere. And it delivers value day after day, greater value. To whom? To my customers. Profitable, cash flow, compounding capital value. Customers love it, employees love it, we love it. We're growing, we find the opportunities, they're not hard to find, they're everywhere. And we're doing better things every day and improving the value. Now the key learning and the key message from this is it actually starts at the bottom, not at the top. If you actually want to get the highly profitable and the cash flow, the first thing you've got to do is begin to find that greater value every day. So you begin to say, how can I deliver more value to my customers? How can I find another way of giving them something better? As I begin to do that, then I begin to see opportunities, I begin to see where the innovation is, I can see where the growth is. As I begin to do this, I'm now enjoying what I'm doing. I can see my business going somewhere. I can actually see it growing. As I begin to do that, my employees now begin to bite in because they can also see opportunities, growth. We can actually get something out from this. It's not just going to work every day and saying, yeah, I got a salary, I hate my job, but soon retirement will be here. It's not that at all. It's the exact opposite. It's I love every day and I'm finding something. So you pause there and you say, do I have any of these things in my business? Do I actually look for value? Do I actually understand what value is? Do I actually then allow me to find where to go to the next step? Do I actually enjoy it? Do my employees enjoy it? If I get those things, then the customer's not an issue. I'm connected with them. They can see I enjoy my work. They can see I'm connected with them. They will then love the business. As they love the business, you get the same compounding effect. What happens? My capital value is now going up, my cash flow is there, and the profitability is there. Where we get it so wrong is we typically start at the top. And we say, how can I make $1? How can I make $1? How can I cut my costs? How can I get more money? I need more money. And you see so many of our large companies who are obsessed with the top line, and they're actually not building what allows a great business to grow and the money to come. So if we just freeze frame there, then, and you go look at books like Jim Collins, Good to Great, Built to Last, those sorts of things, where they give examples of businesses which they will describe as great businesses. And you go back, and even if you go back in Search of Excellence, who can remember In Search of Excellence? Peters and Waterman, you're all too old. Must have been about 50s, wasn't it? I think it was the 70s or maybe the 80s, which was really, I think, the first of the books which looked to see what actually makes something successful and can we learn from this. If you go back and look at those companies, many of those companies don't exist anymore. They're gone. If you go into Jim Collins, look at some of his work, you'll find many of the businesses you've never heard of. You just say, but I've never heard of these businesses. Why are they great businesses if I've not heard about them? Well, greatness doesn't equal size. Greatness means what you're doing and where you want to take it to. You don't have to be the biggest to be great. You've got to pitch it where you want to. So why, in actual fact, do they disappear? We were once great. We were once great. And there's probably more businesses which say that than in actual fact are around today which are great. So the one thing which we've got to understand and we've got to learn is we may say we're going to grow a great business, but it's a day-to-day task and it's a continuing focus in a dynamic environment. It's not static. So frameworks and principles help you maneuver and to sustain that, but I actually think it comes back to character. It comes back to the character of the leadership team, and we'll talk about that. So we know we have changing seasons. So, and we often don't use this language in businesses, but businesses go through changing seasons. It is a season for growth. It is a season for consolidation and rest. It's now another season for growth. Whereas you look at businesses, no, I've got to grow, I've got to grow. Each quarter I have to grow, because each quarter if I don't grow, someone's going to tell me I'm not doing my job. Quarterly growth is not sustainable in a healthy way. And we have many clients who have moved into the public domain and then stepped back out again because they said we can't grow a decent business in a public forum because the demands which is dividends allow us or drive us in a certain way, I think is a way to express it. So we have to recognise that you were once great, but it's not going to stay there. There are changing seasons, and you actually have to understand how to sustain that. And that becomes quite important. So we're not actually doing this today. This is for another time. But for us, there is an underlying engine which underpins that. There are elements which allows you to sustain your business over a long period of time. And we call it a competitive engine, and that's very blurred. We need to get our thing focused. But it talks about basically leadership and employees. It's very much the connection which you form between leadership and employees, which is underpinned by purpose. Again, topic for another day, but purpose is about why you exist. Many businesses don't get purpose. They talk about mission and vision, they don't talk about purpose. So you have a purpose, you have a relationship between employees and leadership, which creates a bond, a mutual trust. You then use basically vision and culture to bind that together. That becomes your engine, that becomes your core. If that is strong, then your business can go anywhere. A focus on customers, a focus on capabilities crafts your strategy. Get rid of all the stuff which destroys good businesses, politics, bureaucracy, wrong systems, wrong reward structures, and put in a reward structure that draws people to where you need to. So the message from that really is you can build a great business, but it won't sustain itself. Seasons will change and you will need to shift with those. If you're a great business, you're in actual fact ahead of the seasons as they change. There are ways to think about this and models which you can put in place. What do you think is the typical downfall of a business which was great? Has everybody got any thoughts? Why would a business once be great and then suddenly not be great anymore?
Change in technology.
Could be a change in technology, yeah?
Lost leadership.
Leadership. I think leadership is the key one. If in actual fact there's a change in technology or a change in customer preference or a changing market, if my leadership team are on the ball, they should in actual fact see that. But when we talk about a change in leadership, it's a change in the character of leadership. So often when a new leadership team comes in, everything which is there has got to be washed. I have to make my mark. There has to be a change. Whatever that person has found and has grown, I'm going to shift that. And suddenly your focus begins to change from growing the business and meeting the needs of customers to my mark on the company and what it means to me. So if you look for a company which has been long-standing successful and you have a change in leadership, this becomes a risk period for me. Especially if it's been successful. If it's declining, then you may need a change, but it's been successful. It's a very careful transition you need to go through. What are the marks of a business deteriorating? What are the marks? If you just take those sort of, that go back to the slide of the dead tree, what do you think are the marks of a business which may be, beginning to go through a decline stage or heading towards it? What do you think they might be?
Loss of good employees.
Loss of good employees? Yep. What else?
Change in ownership.
Change in ownership, which is a change in leadership usually. Yep.
Internal focus.
Yep. All about me, not about anyone else.
Loss of loyal customers.
So, loss of loyal customers, unhappy customers, unhappy employees, unhappy everyone. So this is, and we describe this as the 5 marks of death. So it's a bit of a biblical reference there, so don't get caught up in that. So these are things which we say often reflect a business which is now going to maybe shift from a period of goodness into a period where they're going to get into trouble. First one, they live in the past. They live very much in past glories. The language is about the successes of the past, not the opportunities of the future. This is what we did. We've been successful all these years. And as we know, it's very hard for successful businesses to change what they do because the formula is proven. So often the least innovative companies are very successful companies because they're milking that success. So they tend to live in past glories. Now, I've got to say with this, as we go through these, people suddenly begin to think, oh, this relates to old companies, old people. No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter what the age of the company is. It's what's in the head and what's in the attitude. So young people can suffer from these things as well, where they've created a business, they've got one thing which worked and suddenly they're locked into it and they can't change. So don't attribute these to people and to businesses which are old. It doesn't necessarily apply. The older you get, you're, I think, possibly at greater risk because you can tend to begin to accept what's there, but it doesn't necessarily equal that. Second one, absence of youth. What does youth represent? You can say it's young people, but that's really not what we're talking about. What's an absence of youth?
Loss of innovation.
Sorry?
Immortality.
Youth, yes. Is anyone here feeling immortal at the present time? But yes, they do feel that.
Loss of innovation.
And I think the immortality goes, I can get anything done. Nothing can stop me. So when you talk about an absence of youth, you're really talking about an absence of just that vision, that passion, that willingness to try anything and just to go there. The third one is naysayers. So what's a naysayer do? There's always 2 answers to everything. Yeah, we've tried it before and it didn't work. We haven't tried it, so we don't have to. There's always 1 or 2 answers which stops you from doing anything. So I'm living in the past. There's no passion or energy around me. There's no youth, new ideas, new flavours. If anyone comes up with anything, there's always 1 answer, and it's no. Lack of evangelism. Don't know if they're still around. Did anyone ever come across a Google evangelist? Okay, they used to go around doing presentations and things like that. A Google evangelist was someone who basically talked up Google and the opportunities we've got and the passion and the energy. So when you think about your business, does anyone actually have any passion or energy about it? Does anyone ever talk about how good it is? Does anyone talk about the opportunities and where it's going to? Who's the evangelist in your business which say, this is a great business, we're doing great things, we have so many opportunities here? Or is it at the other end? And the last one, and excuse the expression, but it comes back to one of the comments, carnal leadership. So what's carnal leadership? Who's the most important person in the business? Me, the leader. What's it all about? Making me, the leader, look good. It's about my self-gratification. It's not about leading. So if you begin to look at signs for business and say, are we in trouble? Do we live in the past? Is there any passion and energy around here with youth? Do we in actual fact just say no to everything? There's just no passion, no energy, no one talks anything up, and it's all about sustaining me, my position, and where we've been. Then you know you've got some trouble. So just put that to one side and we'll leave it there. So we're now going to kick forward and we're going to look at what we consider to be the 8 things we really need to focus on to actually grow and develop a great business. And we'll talk through each one of these and just begin to unpack them so you understand. So the first thing to say, so what actually are we going to be looking at? What actually are they? And the way I'll describe them is they are areas of focus. You can describe them as traits, but they're the areas you've got to go through and say, are we doing this? 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 And as you begin to focus on those and as you begin to build your confidence in what you're doing, you suddenly find it'll begin to come together. So these are the eight traits, the 8 characteristics, the 8 areas of focus. 1, and we're going to unpack each one of these, so I'll just read through them. Understand intimately your customers' needs. 2, think and act strategically. 3, make your products easy to buy. 4, understand your numbers. 5, drive your organisation's performance. 6, continually grow your business. 7, expand globally. 8, plan your succession. So we're going to unpack these. But the way I would look at these is you almost sit down and say, let's pick one and let's unpack this and let's see how this applies in our organisation and let's lift it to another level. Okay, we've looked at that. Let's pick up the second one. Let's begin to unpack that. And we see businesses who will take these and they'll take one a month. Some will take one a quarter. Depends on how big they are, how well the management team works together, and they take it and say, let's understand the principle, let's unpack it, and let's see how it applies in our business, and let's begin to do these things. And they actually go through a progression. And you'll see as we get to the end, there is a progression of learning and there's progression of knowledge, where you do your first circle and you go, okay, I've got so far and understand. Let's start again. I now do my second circle. Now I understand, I actually understand much better. Now let me do my third circle, and now I understand much better than I did before. And the more you learn, the more you understand you don't know. The more you see what you're doing, the more you understand what you're not doing well. And you just continue to refine and to step out and to step out and to step out. So you don't see this list as, I've read the list and I do all those things. You look at the list and say, these are areas for me to focus on and areas I can draw my management team to and areas I, in actual fact, can draw my attention to. Let's take the first one, let's unpack this, let's understand how it applies to what I do, and let me walk through how I can make it better, okay? Let me begin to do those things. All right, I think I've got a handle on that. Now let me go to the second one. And that's why companies will do, usually if they do it on a monthly basis, it's an understanding. Let's pick each one and begin to understand it. If they do it on a quarterly basis, they're beginning to understand and they're beginning to act. And we find they do this over a 12-month, 18-month, 2 to 3 year period is typically to go through the list once and then begin to come back and start again. So let's begin to just see what these actually mean. And as we go through each one, I just want you to pause and just think about what it actually means in your business. How many people are intimate with their customers? Let me put my hand down. It's the language. It's the language. Intimately understand your customers' needs. So let's just think about the word. If you intimately understand, what does it really mean? You are so close that you know what they're thinking, you're breathing what they breathe, you really know where they are. And it's that degree of closeness. So when we talk about intimately understand your customers' needs, we're talking about a degree of knowledge and understanding, which not only is their knowledge, but quite honestly goes beyond. You can predict, you can understand, you know where it's tracking to. So if we begin to look at intimately understanding, and just look at some of the words there, to be able to predict their needs before they even know. So it's not about responding to a customer saying, do you have this? It's being able to say, I know what they need, I understand their needs, we can actually help them by crafting this. And you actually take them in a direction. We actually know how we're fulfilling the needs, now we can take it to another direction. We know how they're fulfilling the needs, now we can take it into another direction. Because I understand technology, I understand what's happening in the marketplace, I understand you, I understand why you actually use what I do, and therefore I understand where I can take you to. So if you turn around and we just take a simple and easy example, and you'd say music. And you go back a short period of time, and you say music used to be on my cassette tapes, then music went onto my CDs, then music went onto hard drives, then music suddenly was in the cloud, then music could be downloaded, and there was a new business model created through that. Books, I used to always buy a hard copy book and I had to go to the bookstore. When Borders came to Australia, it was actually incredible because we actually had a selection and range of books now which we'd never seen before. But now you can buy books from the cloud, You don't actually have to get a hard copy and get a soft copy. My variety is there. So if you take those couple of examples, and they're very simple ones, you can see how through technology, organisations have sat there and said, I can actually take you to another level of satisfaction. You don't have to see a book, hear about a book, place an order, wait 6 weeks for it to come from overseas. I can actually give you instant gratification. You can see the book and download it instantly and be reading it within a minute. I don't know how many people do this, I certainly do it. I'll go into a seminar, I'll go into a conference, and as they talk about references and books, I'll begin to download them. So actually I've got the resources coming through. And I always end up with books I don't read because I probably downloaded too many, but I can do that instantaneously. So there's simple examples of I understand what you actually need and why you use my product, but I can actually take you to another level. So intimately understanding gives you an ability to grow. If I don't intimately understand, I actually can't grow my business. And the strongest way to grow my business is from that core. You are my customers, I understand what your need is, let me begin to unpack that. Let me take you out to another level. I know where your pain points are, let me take you out. So in a strategy context, people talk about red oceans, blue oceans, competing, etc. This is another level. This is turning around and basically saying, I don't have to compete against you because I'm actually setting where the market's going to go to and where value is, and you're actually chasing me. Because I'm connected with my customers and the value, you're not. So that's the first thing, that intimate level of understanding. You really understand the value, you redefine the value, and as you redefine the value, in a very simple way, this is the blue ocean stuff, I can increase things, I can decrease things, I can add, I can remove, but there is very much another level you want to go to where you actually recreate the value. So let's think of our friends who are in town, Cirque du Soleil. If I go to Cirque du Soleil, am I going to a circus? It's called a circus. I suppose I am in some ways. Are there any animals there? No. Am I going to entertainment? Am I going to drama? Am I going to singing? Am I going to opera? Am I going to dancing? Am I going to ballet? Am I going to all these things? Yeah, I'm going to all those things. Am I going to an experience? Yes, I am. And now, their brand's a little bit older now because it's been around, we've all experienced it, but that was a redefinition of value and a shift. It wasn't a subtlety, it was a recreation. If you go back to when I was a kid, I wouldn't be paying $350 for a ticket to go to the theatre, whatever that value was then. Today, people will pay $250, $350 to get the seats to go see that. So there's an example where they have redefined what that value is by thinking about, okay, we understand people like entertainment, we understand people go to the circus, how can we blend all this together and take it to another level and craft something? So the first thing you've got to begin to do is to say, do I actually understand customer need? Do I actually understand what they're seeking from me, and do I actually understand where to take it to? And can I grow it? Can I grow it? The second part which comes with this is very much about the way you think. And we talk about think and act strategically. Business strategy, strategic planning, business planning, whichever way you want to call it, it's all about direction, alignment, and focus. It is a leadership tool. We often call it, it's just a lost art. People have lost the connection with strategic planning and how it drives the business forward. It's become something, it's away with the group over the weekend, and they have a strategic plan which went from 2012 and 2017, and they're sitting there saying, but the plan's still got, whatever it is, 2.5 years to go. Should we be looking at it now? Oh, no. We're not going to rewrite the plan. We're just going to see if it's still relevant. That's not strategic planning. That's not having a sense. You don't have something which is static for a 5-year period and say, well, we did it 5 years ago, it's still effective. See, it's got a date on the front cover. But a lot of organisations think about planning in that context, where strategy is dynamic. Nothing's static. Nothing is static. Strategy is dynamic and it's continuing. So it's about direction, alignment, and focus of who? Of my organisation, of all my resources, of all my people. It's a leadership tool because we turn around and say, this is where we're going to, this is why we're going there, let's all get facing the right direction, and these are the things we need to work on. And that becomes a dynamic conversation. So strategy is about a conversation, it's about communication. There's a point that I just wanted to unpack a little bit, even though we're sort of going to push against the clock. I think you start with an organisation which begins to think strategically. In other words, I actually understand what I'm doing, I understand the connections, I understand why it's important, why I shouldn't do this. My head's in the right space. I'm not just on remote, auto, boom, boom, boom. The second one, once they get that, they then begin to say, I actually know how to grow my business as well. It's not about trying this and forgetting it, trying this and forgetting it, and trying this and forgetting it, and trying this and forgetting it. It's about having a clear sense of the road we're going down and building and compounding, one upon the other. So I begin to understand growth now, and everyone is focused on that. And then the third step of understanding is actually understanding how to compete. E.g., I understand my customer needs, and I know how to step out from that. I can think strategically, I can grow my business, now I can compete. So when you think about thinking and acting strategically, you're talking about the capability of the organisation to respond to change in a way which actually builds value. They're not lost, they're not directionless, they know exactly what they're doing and where they're going to. Strategy, quite simply, is how you intend to compete in the market. How you intend to compete is in actual fact how you're going to take yourself forward from where you are. So the second key thing in building great business is strategy. But it's not the strategy, it's the ability to actually think about the strategy, to craft it, to communicate it, and to build an organisation through that. And it's something which many, many organisations just do not have in any context. Often it's in my head. Have you told anyone? I'm sure I've told them what I want them to do, but it's in my head. Well, you don't have to do a 50-page document, but you've got to find a way to connect, to communicate, and to lead. But I actually want my employees thinking strategically and not doing silly things. So that's the second one. Think and act strategically. Third one, make your products easy to buy. And you'll turn around and say, but isn't this just common sense? Isn't this just common sense? It is. And how often do you go and try and buy something and it's frigging impossible? It's frustrating, it's annoying, the phone's not being answered, the person's not there, they don't turn up when they're supposed to turn up. Customer service is not an automated telephone answering system, it's got to be more than that. So you pause and you say, what is it I actually do? And it may be I sell something, it may be I share something, it may be about information which I'm releasing. It could be about a product, could be about a service, could be about knowledge, could just be about connections, could be about giving people access into something. But whatever you define your product to be, whatever it is you're around to do, the question I want to ask is it easy or is it hard? As we tend to go on cost reduction strategies, it becomes harder for the customer. We think easier for us, but harder for the customers. So you are talking here about channels. You are talking about an omni-channel strategy, but it's not about I have shops and I have a website and I have agents and I have this and I have that. That's a superficial way of thinking of it. I have a shop. Wow, okay. Is there anyone opening the door? Nope. Are the staff in there friendly? No, they hate their job. Are the products laid out well? No, you can't find anything. I can't find anything. It's not about the channel, that's just the opening of the door. So you look at it and say it's location, it's accessibility, it's visibility, it's ambience, it's process, it's information, it's knowledge, it's attitude, it's all those things. It's all those things. So when I seek to engage with you, what is my experience like? And we don't think about this particularly well, and we don't think about it particularly often because it's hard. But more important than that, we're just used to the way we've always done things, and it just carries forward. We actually don't think about the customer experience. We don't think of the engagement. But if I come and buy something from you, then it's good. Is anyone here an Apple user or a Mac user? What was it like when you got your first Apple or Mac product and you open the box? It is an experience for the first time you do it. It is just the feel of it, the quality of it, the ease of it, and the excitement. I think the experience in Apple, and I don't know if they still recognise this, is actually in getting it and opening it. That's part of making the product easy because I actually enjoy getting it, I actually enjoy opening it and just peeling the bits apart. So when you begin to think about making your products easy to buy, it is that entire sense. Can I find you? Can I engage with you? Can I actually get the information I need? Are you responsive? Do you actually make me feel good? Am I actually getting the value which I want to get? Am I actually gaining the experience I want to get? If I do, then I'll come back again. And I'll come back again. And as I come back each time, is it actually getting better? Or am I now getting a bit tired of it all? So if you make your products easy to buy, you actually just change that entire connection with your customers. Total experience, understand your customers, talk their language, and look at the last line, it's very important, map and lead them. It is about the journey. So rather than talking about my channels to market, think about the journey which customers go through in engaging with me. It does not matter who I am, what is the journey, the experience they'll go through in engaging with me, from beginning to end and in a repetitive way. Does anyone in here own a Mini? Well done. So my first car when I was 17 was a Mini. Had to sit on the front lawn for quite a few months until I actually got my driver's license. But it was a Mini Cooper S. And then a few years ago, I went and got a Mini Cooper S again. I was told I shouldn't get a Mini Cooper S by my wife for 2 reasons. You're too old, you won't be able to get in and out of it. So that was the first reason to get it, because she said I'm too old. The second thing she said, and if you get it, it's too small, you won't be able to drive my family around when they visit. That was 3 ticks. So when my wife was visiting our kids up in Canberra, I went and bought the Mini. Said, oh, I've just got a new car. She goes, you didn't. I did. The Mini's now died and moved on. But when I bought that car, the experience in going through and actually being able to, on the website, design the car. Don't know if anyone's bought a Mini, but you go in there and say, so this is the model I want. Now let me choose the colour, let me choose the interior, let me choose the leather, let me choose the types of things I'm going to have in it, let me choose all the accessories I want to have in it. You actually build the car. And then the car goes off to be produced, and you see the car being produced, and you get updates on the car. So the whole experience of building that and creating that car for me is something which Mini designed when they first released. It was about the journey I went through at actually buying the car. But I got to tell you, very expensive to keep. When they begin to break down, it costs you a fortune. Okay, so much for that very important part of that journey with the customer. Simple, easy stuff, understand your numbers. But I think one of the most frustrating things which owners go through, understand your numbers. Accountants don't finish them on time. I don't understand when I get them. They're in a balance sheet and P&L, which doesn't make any sense to anyone. It was interesting, I was at a world conference last year. I'll have to stop telling stories, but I was at a world conference last year, and the room, about 350, won't tell you what the conference was, of accountants. It was just accountants. And the guy who was the president of the, what do they call them, CPAs? CPAs in the US? Whatever they call them in the US. Stood up and he was saying, so this is a room full of accountants. How many of you in making financial decisions as to what to invest in look at the financial statements of the company? Have a room of 350, maybe, and 2 people put them up. Why? They're useless, they don't tell you anything. So it was interesting that a room full of accountants found that annual reports weren't particularly useful in looking at financial statements or the finance of a company. I thought that was quite funny. The right numbers at the right time for the right people. So this is about information flow, and you can say, but is this one of the things of building great business? It is, because quite often the people who are relying upon to make decisions do not have the information they need. They're in the dark, they're guessing. That comes months too late, and it's just not there. Right numbers, right time, right people. But the most important thing is to understand the story which they tell. So when you're working with your financial advisor, what do you want them to do? You actually want them to help you understand the story that the numbers tell. Numbers tell a story, and you actually want them to explain to you the story. Now, I have software which produces the P&L and the balance sheet and those sorts of things. It's the story. What do these numbers actually mean? What are they telling me about the past, and maybe what are they telling me about the future, and how do I need to respond to it? So in understanding your numbers, you actually have to understand the story. You need to monitor, you need to forecast, you need to play with the numbers. This is where modelling becomes important. If I don't understand what the future may be and I can't play with the numbers to see what's good, what's bad, and how it may work, I actually can't understand the story of the numbers. It's the story I'm after. And the other thing I've got to remember is we talk about numbers, it's about data. Whatever you do, you have got a stack of data. Whether you're a small business or a big business, you have information about your customers. Are you using that? This is data analytics. People turn around, it's all about big data. And you say, but I only have a small business. Well, it's about small data then. All right? But it's about understanding the numbers. It becomes quite critical. So don't ignore that. It's one of the key pillars, I think, of building great business. Continuing to move through. Drive your organisational's performance. What does performance actually look like? And you can see the guy standing there saying, I actually don't know. And I think in a lot of cases in business, we actually don't know what performance is in a business. Oh, it's the profit. Is it? What generates the profit? Sales? Costs? What generate those? Salesmen? Accountants? And they actually don't understand what the bigger dynamic is. So let's look at this and say, driving your organisation's performance, if I turned around and said to you, I want you to improve the performance of your organisation, what would be the first thing you start with? Understand and recognise what influences performance. That's the question. The actual diagram which we had up earlier actually had the elements which impact performance. But what do you think would be a starting point if I said to you, I want to improve the performance? Yeah. You've got to start with employees. Who influences the employees? Leadership. So you begin to say, I need to change the way in which we function. So I actually need to look at myself. I need to look at the employees, my relationship. I probably need to look at the systems and the processes around them. I actually probably need to see how we're measuring things. I actually probably need to see how we're rewarding things. I actually need to look at the decisions we're making. So where do you think, and if you think I get all those things right, do you think they may improve performance? Yeah. So what would be a good word? If I go back to my Mini, what allows my Mini to run well? Sorry? Yep, express that another way. I've got my foot in the accelerator. Brum, brum, brum. Nope. Who's a petrol head? Huh? It's tuned. What about if it's just well tuned? So if my car is well tuned, what does that mean? Everything is running well. If my business is well tuned, what does that mean? Everything is running well. So you'll see we use a language here down the bottom of alignment. And we turn around and say, imagine if my strategic objectives are actually aligned with the way I've set the organisation up to function, which is actually aligned with the way I measure things, which is actually aligned with my budget, which is actually aligned with the way I reward people and my culture. Then I'm beginning to get all those little buttons, all those little elements aligned. So performance is really about alignment. It's about purpose. It's about leadership of employees. It's about vision. It's about culture. It's about systems. It's about processes. It's about all the things which go around that. So what you need to constantly do in your business is turn around and say, is my engine running well? I'm hearing something. It's, maybe it's one of the spark plugs. Maybe something needs to be changed. Maybe I haven't got the right fuel in there. Maybe something's getting a bit worn. Maybe it needs to be renewed. Do you actually listen to your organisation and understand how you actually need to tune it? And do you understand what it takes? So in terms of this principle, it's very much about driving the organisation's performance. It's about taking it to another level. It's another area of focus. So you can begin to see now as you go through these and you begin to look at these, you begin to say, okay, I need to make sure I focus on my customers. I need to make sure I'm thinking, acting strategically. I need to make my products easy to buy. I need to understand the numbers. I need to drive performance. You can now see there's actually a list building, and you can't do all these things at once. You need to start with one, then you need to move to the other, then you need to move to the other, and you need to unpack them and understand them. So in performance, there's a method of looking at alignment. And if you understand the method of looking at alignment, then you can go through and say, I can focus on this, I can fix this, I can fix this, and you begin to get it a bit better, and then you go on to another level. It's always about this progression. Continual growth, continually grow your business. What does this represent? Yep, it's a roadway, it's a pathway. Where's it going to? Somewhere. Is it a clear direction? Yes, it is. So when you begin to think about growth, the first thing for me is, so why? So why are you growing? Because I want to get bigger. Is that a good thing? I don't know, but isn't that what you're supposed to do? So when you begin to think about growth, you begin to say, do I actually have a clear pathway? Do I actually understand why I'm growing? Do I actually understand where I'm seeking to go to? Does it make strategic sense? Is it the right place to go to? So the images are important in these contents. So we know change is constant, and if change is constant, what is growth? Continual. So what does growth represent? What does growth represent? If I say I want to grow my business, what could that mean? What could that mean? Could mean I want to increase my sales. Yeah, could be. Could mean I want to buy a new warehouse. Yeah, could. Could mean I want to decrease my costs. Yeah. Growing could be reducing my costs, which increases my efficiency and my profit. It's about growth. What about if I just want to make things easier for everyone because everyone gets a total headache every day because of all the mess we've got? Yeah, that would be growth because that will take some of the inefficiencies out and improve performance. What about if I just want to make people happier? Excuse me, they're working for you, not meant to be happy. What about if you just want to make people happier? Do you think they would work harder? Yes, they may. What about if I just want a clearer sense of purpose where we're going to so they actually know what they're doing each day? That's growth. What about if I just want to communicate with people better? That's growth. What about if I, the owner, the leader, would actually like to enjoy my job? Oh, that's real growth. But so growth comes in many shapes and sizes and forms. You know, we've had clients turn around and say, I would really like to reduce and just work 4 days a week. Is that growth? Yeah. Because that's what they actually want to achieve. That for them is taking their business to another level. I actually want to get a decent management team in place so I can release some of the things so I can go enjoy some of the things I'd like to do. I would like to explore setting up another business, something which bolts onto what we've got. So I want to pass the management over. Is that growth? Absolutely. Absolutely. So first thing about growth is it comes in many shapes and sizes. The second thing about growth is because change is constant, growth is continued. Why? Because growth is response to change. You've got to think about it that way. Mantra, better every day. Better every day. So if change is constant and growth is continual, my mantra is better every day. So someone says, why are we doing it this way? Because we've always done it. And you say, no. Better every day. So you say, do I actually have a mantra which allows my business to grow continually? Is that part of my DNA and my culture, or is it same old, same old? You actually want to change that. So better every day is a very good mantra. Growth, all shapes, all sizes. Eliminate paradigms, recognise your stage of growth. Does everyone understand what a paradigm is? A mindset, a fixed way of thinking. Why may you want to change that? It may be changing the way you can actually operate. We're locked in the past. And recognising your stage of growth is companies go through different growth cycles, and therefore as I get to a certain stage, I may need to jump. Get to a certain stage, may need to jump. Could be as simple as I need to put a manager in. Could be as difficult as we're so large I need to break into a couple of parts so we can each focus on our markets. Can go through various stages. Moving forward, last couple, just to close out. Expand globally. When you say expand globally, the context is always you want me to go overseas. Yes and no. If that's where you need to go to, then you can physically go overseas. But for us, expand globally is more about attitude. It's about connection. It's about the way you think. So expand globally is about inward and outward opportunities and ideas. Have I actually opened my mind out to the global world? And that expression about leaders need to read, they need to understand, they need to open up their spectrum of knowledge, they need to connect. So it may mean that through that, you decide to set up a branch overseas. It may be you set up a website which allows you to send information. It may be you collaborate with someone. Expand globally is about opening your mind out from where you are and just allowing that to occur. Patterns, trends, reactions change. You want to understand all these things. The market is global, connection is easy. It's not hard. So the question we ask here is when I say think globally or expand globally, do you actually click into anything? What does it mean to you? How do you do it in your business? How do you make those connections? You know, the expression the world is smaller than ever continues to be true. So this principle, very much number 7, expand globally, make sure as wide as you can. Last one, just to close this off, we're almost there. Plan your succession. Succession's not about getting old and stepping away. Don't think about it that way. Succession starts the day you think about setting up your business. The day you start setting up your business. Succession's about capital value. Succession is about continuity. Succession is about ensuring things will go beyond you. What's your greatest legacy? The business which I founded has grown so much since I left it. Why? Because of what I set up and I established there. It's that continuity. You need to recognise where capital value lies, and you'll always have to compound that capital value. So succession is about the foundations you build. It's about the foundations you build from day one, and you grow and you develop that. So just going through the 8, you need to understand intimately your customer needs, you need to think and act strategically, you need to make your products easy to buy, understand your numbers, drive performance, continually grow, think global, act global, plan your succession. So what we would say is what you need to do is you very much need to understand those and you just continue peeling back. As you understand more, You keep going and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. And as you learn more, you actually understand more of what you don't know and you just keep getting stronger. You'll never get to the core. So what's at the core is this process of just continually learning. So you take those 8 principles and just continue to expand them and you continue to build upon them. So the question you ask yourself as you begin to pack up and leave is to say, do you know what it takes to grow a great business? We've given you the highlights, we've given you the principles, we've given you the basis. The question then becomes, do you actually commence on this journey where you think about this and you begin to develop it? Because what it means to grow a great business will in many ways be different for every person here. It depends on the journey they're going to go on, and that becomes quite important. Thoughts? Yes?
Richard, thanks. I was applying your principles to my region, my organisation, my country. Two quick questions. What's your advice to managers that have to meet what I would say a short-term expectation of the shareholders?
Yep.
High dividends, and the media.
Yes.
My second question comes to the customer. Is the customer always right? How often do I read, I'm a pharmacy, how often do I read in the paper that a bank is not supporting this forest industry, university is not supporting this mining company because of the customer? So do you sacrifice your principles to meet the customer's needs? Which leads me to the final question.
Three parts to the question.
Businessman and honourable.
Can you be a successful business person? Honour? Yeah. So let me go through the three questions very quickly. Yes, if you're in a public company domain, the pressures of quarterly results and dividends can drive you in a direction which I don't think gives you the best sustainable model. It's the reality of where you are. The question you're asking, does the dynamics of the share market, and everyone is saying, I bought my shares 5 minutes ago, have they gone up yet? Do not necessarily drive the most successful business model. That's where you work, that's what you've got to deal with. Is my customer always right? People say customer's always right. I think you've got to understand where the customer's coming from. But ultimately, if they don't want to buy from you, then you won't be in business. But I think it's a matter then of understanding the need and then communicating your view of the need. Because often, if you get your model right, you'll be able to lead the customer to another level. And as for people speaking into things and saying, we don't think this should be invested in, that should be invested in, it's the nature of the market we're in. That's why we have clients who have gone public and then brought their companies back again, to bring them back to a base where they can actually achieve some of the things they want. It's life. The capital markets we're in. Other questions? That's why we use the expression, we like working with closely held businesses, because with closely held businesses, to us, they're businesses where you actually have, it doesn't have to not be a public company, it's a company where you've got a group of people who have got the decision-making capacity and they've actually got the head in the right space, as distinct from chasing a dividend, trying to generate a dividend. It's a hard game. Anything else? I think you have contact details. Oh, I don't know about that. You may have used up your quota, but we'll give you one more.
Well, it doesn't matter what business we're in, even your business, we operate in a global market.
Yes.
So how do we face tomorrow in our businesses? How do we, what's your advice to businesses? And I noticed your comment was to operate global doesn't mean that you've actually got to be in that export market.
Yep.
But
To understand the
we
dynamics.
are competing every business now.
Yeah.
Not the landscape.
I'll answer the question in two parts. It's a global marketplace, inverted commas, as to what that actually means, but it's a global marketplace. I think you have to be aware, you've got to connect, you've got to engage, but the question you're asking is, what happens, I think the question you're asking underlying that, what happens when competition is such that I can no longer survive? Then if you can't find a space you can move to give you that, whatever you want to call it, that space, then you move out of that market. But prior to that, hopefully you have recognised what's occurring and you are shifting yourself. So you always have to find in a competitive sense a space where you are strong. And you've always got to be continually evolving. So we might pause on that note, seeing it's 1 minute to 9. You have contact details. feel free. Any questions, please just ring, shoot an email anytime. Thank you everyone for coming. It was a pleasure having you here.